In this video, you will learn about ratios. Now, what is a ratio? Well, a ratio is simply a comparison of two or more numbers. With a ratio, you can write this in three different ways. So for example, let's say you had 7 red marbles and 12 blue marbles. And the question is, what is the ratio of red to blue marbles? So the ratio is just comparing the two numbers. So we have 7 red and 12 blue, so the ratio of red to blue would be 7 to 12. So I can state it with words as 7 to 12, or I can put a colon in between it, so 7 colon 12, or I can write this as a fraction, 7 over 12. Now let's look at some more examples. Here we are told that a college has 80 teachers and 3,000 students. Of the 3,000 students, 1,800 are boys and 1,200 are girls. So the first question along with this example is, what is the ratio of students to teachers? So the ratio is simply comparing the two numbers with students and with teachers. So there are 3,000 students and there are 80 teachers. So the ratio would be 3,000 to 80 or 3,000 over 80. That is the same thing. And then always reduce your ratios. So you can divide the top and the bottom both by 10 to get 300 over 8. And then I can divide the top and the bottom both by 4. So dividing the top by 4, I will get 75, and divide the bottom by 4, I get 2. So the ratio in simplified form would be 75 to 2. So what this means is that for every 75 students, there are 2 teachers. Example 2. Given the same illustration, what is the ratio of boys to girls? Well, there are 1,800 boys and 1,200 girls, so the ratio of boys to girls would be 1,800 to 1,200, or 1,800 over 1,200. I can then reduce my ratio, dividing the top and the bottom both by 100, and that's going to give me 18 over 12. And then I can take this further. I can divide the top and the bottom both by 6, which would give me 3 over 2. So what this means is that the ratio of boys to girls is 3 to 2, meaning that there are 3 boys for every 2 girls. A third example would be, what is the ratio of teachers to girls? So there are 80 teachers and 1,200 girls, so the ratio would be 80 over 1,200. And then reduce your ratio, divide the top and the bottom by 10. That gives me 8 over 120. So 8 over 120. And then divide the top and the bottom again by 4. And that's going to give me 2 over 30. So 2 over 30. Which can actually reduce further. Dividing the top and the bottom by 2, I get 1 over 15 as my ratio. So what that means is that for every 1 teacher, there are 15 girls. Here is another example, and this you see often in sports, where you are comparing the games won to the games lost. So here a volleyball team has won 9 games and lost 6 games. What is the ratio of games won to games lost? So we have won 9 and lost 6. So the ratio of games won to loss would be 9 to 6. That can be expressed as a fraction, 9 over 6, which can then be reduced by dividing the top and the bottom by 3, which would give me 3 over 2. Now be careful if you have 2 things you're comparing, but the units are not the same. So for example, if you are writing 2 hours to 15 minutes, you're writing this in simplest form. This is your ratio. Well, the units are not the same, so I need to make sure that I convert the units so that they are the same. So the ratio is 2 hours to 15 minutes, which can be written as 2 hours divided by 15 minutes. So I need to convert either minutes to hours or hours to minutes. Here it's going to be easier probably to convert hours into minutes. There are 60 minutes in 1 hour, so for 2 hours there'd be 2 times 60 or 120 minutes. So I have 120 minutes divided by 15 minutes, and that would give me 8 over 1. So the ratio of 2 hours to 15 minutes would be 8 to 1, which can be written as in this manner with 8 colon 1. So either way, you can write it as a fraction or with colons. You can interchange back and forth. But if you start with a colon, it's probably easier to convert into fraction form first. Here's another example. We have 8 inches to 6 feet. Once again, the units are not the same. So I need to convert either inches to feet or feet to inches. Converting feet to inches is probably the easiest to convert. So 6 feet, you can convert to inches by multiplying by 12, because 1 foot has 12 inches. So 6 times 12 would be 72 inches. So writing this as a fraction might be simpler in order to simplify. Here we can write this as 8 over 72, which you can divide the top and the bottom both by 8, which gives me 1 over 9. And if you want to write this back with the colon, you could, and that would be 1 colon 9. Here is another example. You have a poster that is 1 meter long and 40 centimeters wide. Find the ratio of width to the length. So in order to compare, to have the ratio, the units must be the same. So we have centimeters and meters. It will be probably easier to convert meters into centimeters, because 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. So the length is 100 centimeters and the width is 40 centimeters. So the ratio of length to width, width to length, you take the 40 first and then the 100 second. So you have 40 to 100, which can be written as a fraction, 40 over 100, which can reduce to become 4 over 10. So that can also be taken further. Divide top and bottom by 2. That's going to give me 2 over 5. So you can write it as a fraction, or you can write the ratio with a colon, where you have 2 colon 5. Either is fine, as long as you have the 2 first and then the 5 second. Now a special kind of ratio we have is called a rate. A rate is a ratio that compares 2 different kinds of numbers. So for example, maybe miles per hour would be one type of rate. So here we have our first example, 100 miles over 2 hours. So we are comparing 2 different things, miles and hours. Now we have what is called a unit rate, which is a ratio that compares a quantity to 1. So for example, 100 miles over 2 hours, I can reduce this to be 50 miles over 1 hour. So here, this is considered my unit rate because I have simplified so that my ratio is comparing the miles to 1. All right, it doesn't need to be miles per hour. It could be some other expressions we are comparing, but whatever we are comparing, the unit rate is usually what we are looking for, which would be something over 1. All right, so 50 miles over 1 hour is my unit rate. So let's say you had this example where Timmy made $120 in 8 hours. and you are told to convert to the unit rate. So we know that he makes 120 in 8 hours, so I can take 120 divided by 8, and that's dollars per hours. Now we want to know how much he's making for 1 hour. That is my unit rate. So I can reduce this, 120 divided by 8, that's going to give me 15 over 1. So that means he makes $15 in 1 hour, or $15 per hour. And that concludes our lesson for today. We will see you next time.